All right, let's see if we can forage some cattail today. Let's just take a look at it here on our old foraging bandana. Oh, look what we found. So there's actually a lot of different varieties of cattail, but let's talk about this one today. Really important plant for all survivalists, all bushcrafters to know about. And they tend to look the same, even though there's numerous different varieties of it. It tends to grow in wetlands, very tall, and it's got that flowery stalk there at the top that everybody knows how to recognize. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the cattail here. I've got the Wright Genesis there to give you some scaling for what a typical seed head would look like. And of course, we got our foraging bandana from Wazoo. Thank you, Wazoo. Cattails were an important source of Native American food, medicine, and crafts. Typha is a genus of about 30 species of flowering plants in the family Typhaceae. Hope I pronounced that right. The way that you're gonna identify cattail is obviously that they tend to grow in bunches, connected at the root level by a network of rhizomes. They prefer to grow in wet, spongy areas. They have long, flat, spongy green leaves emerging in bundles, and they look like giant blades of grass, as you saw in that previous video. They are about 1 to 2 inches wide, and they grow about 3 to 10 feet tall. I don't think I've ever seen ones 10 feet tall anywhere near me. The base of the leaves definitely feel spongy because they contain air-filled cellular tubes, and that carries the oxygen down to the base of the plant. The cattail roots tend to live underwater, and then the flower head tends to emerge from the center of the plant and grows to the top of the plant with this brown. At first it looks greenish yellow when you see it, and then it eventually turns brown. We're gonna cut into this later on to show you what the inside of that looks like. But it will swell over the course of the summer and develop these cattail-like structures, hence the name. Now eventually nature will break this down into fluffy seed heads that will spread in the wind. And as I said before, cattails tend to grow in swamps, marshes, bogs, wetlands, and in moist ditches along the side of the road. Now the leaf shoots are edible in early spring. Of course, over summer, we're in fall right now as I'm filming this. As you get closer to fall, they're gonna start to turn brownish like that. And we have a different use for that. When they reach this stage, you can actually make some cordage out of it. And that's actually a skill I learned from the legendary Carly Fairchild from Alone. And this is what it looks like when you make the cordage. And it is very flexible and very, very strong. So if you're going to harvest cattail for food or medicine, make sure you are harvesting from a clean area. I did mention that it tends to grow on the side of the roads. You want to try to get away from that just because of the pollution that it can pick up. This is a plant that tends to pick up a lot of pollution from the soil as well. So again, try to harvest it from clean, marshy areas as opposed to, side of the road or near a chemical factory or something like that. I do recommend that you wash with boiling water before you consume. Again, the young leaves are edible. The stalk itself is edible. You can do things with the seeds. You can, when this is green and not turned brown yet, you can cook that up and eat that. And the shoot, which I will also cut into here in a little bit, is very starchy. The shoot and the roots actually are very starchy, so it's going to give you some good carbohydrates. And the seed head, there's some good protein in there. There is a toxic lookalike called the yellow flag iris, but one thing to keep in mind is that the stem is flattened on that, and the stem on cattail is roundish. So some traditional cultures have reported some medicinal uses, such as the ashes from burnt cattail leaves and the sap from the base of the plant have been used by traditional cultures for to make an antiseptic ointment to treat wounds and prevent infection. Cattail pollen has some hemostatic properties, which means that it can be used to stop bleeding. The flowery seed heads inside there can be compressed and turned into nose plugs, if you will, to stop a nosebleed. And some traditional cultures have used it to stop uterine bleeding as well. The roots of cattails can be split open and used to make a poultice that can be applied to cuts, wounds, burns, stings, and bruises. The down from the cattail seed head, again, I'm going to show you that in just a minute, can be used as insulation for bedding. The flowers of the cattails can be used as tinder, but it does burn very, very fast. I've shown that in some other videos on my channel. So overall, this is a really good plant to know about. It has a ton of nutrients, a ton of vitamins and minerals. It's got some medicinal properties. Almost every part of the plant can be eaten. The seeds can be eaten. The stalk can be eaten, the leaves can be eaten, the roots can be eaten. People have turned the seeds into like a flour, as in the type of flour you bake with, not the type of flour that grows in the ground. It can also be ground into like a meal, like a pancake type of thing, similar to what you would do with crushed up acorns. It really is a gold mine as far as survival plants go. Some cultures have taken the cattail pollen from the brownish seed head and made it into capsules to stop different types of bleeding and for its astringent properties. It's also been known to be a mild diuretic by some cultures. As far as the vitamins and minerals, cattails contain beta-carotene, niacin, riboflavin, thiamine, potassium. Potassium is a great one. It's hard to find sometimes in nature. Phosphorus, protein, amino acids, and vitamin C. And the cattail rhizomes, the underground roots and stems, have a lot of starchy carbohydrates, which if you were in a survival situation, you would need for energy. The lower part of the stems, especially the younger plants, also are very high in starchy carbohydrates. Tends to be between 30 and 46% of that plant matter is carbohydrate. There's some good dietary fiber in it as well. Cattail leaves, when they're green, not when they're brown like this, have a very moist gel-like mucus material to them that can be used to help with antimicrobial properties and to help treat burns, much like aloe vera can. As far as eating, the rhizomes and the lower stems can be eaten raw, baked, roasted, broiled. The new stalk shoots can be eaten as a spring vegetable. Basically, you peel it back and eaten raw or cooked like an asparagus. If we were in a true apocalyptic scenario, you could take the flowery seed heads in there and make some bandages with it by compressing it. What I mean by that is, you'd compress it under rocks on a dry day for a prolonged period of time. The long, straight, mature leaves have been used to make mats, baskets, and cordage by traditional cultures. The seeds also have a high linoleic acid content that can be used to feed cattle and chickens. Some of the other names that cattail has gone by include bulrush, reed mace, punks, kumbungi, cat o' nine tails, Cooper's reed, water torch, candlewick, corn dog grass, tool cattail, slender cattail, narrowleaf cattail. Like I said, there's numerous different varieties here, and depending on your regional names, you might have heard different things. You might have heard it called different things as you were growing up. So if you wanted to eat from the cattail, some other options to consider would be the base of the new shoots. In springtime, you can cut that off. Get that leaf out of there. You can cut that off and the outer leaves could be removed, revealing there's like a tender white green leaf underneath it that resembles leeks. And the stalk, if you cut back some of the outer layer, it is called cattail hearts, and those can be eaten fresh or lightly cooked, added to stir fry. It's got to me, it's like a celery-like texture. So if you wanted to harvest the pollen, maybe you've got some wetlands on your property and you wanted to encourage cattail to grow, generally what you're going to do is you're going to put this seed head into a sack and then break it open and shake the seeds into there. Remember, wherever you harvested it from, though, we encourage ethical foraging, ethical harvesting, so you don't want to take too much. Make sure you leave it where nature had it intended so that it continues to thrive there as well. What time of year are you going to harvest this? Well, the shoots are going to be in early spring. They can be eaten raw or cooked like asparagus. The flower heads, the immature, when they're still like greenish yellow, can be eaten raw or cooked, and I've seen those usually early spring and early summer. Seeds, you're talking about more like fall. And they have like a nutty flavor. You can boil those, you can eat them raw, you can ground into like a meal, you can use them like a flour. The stalk bottom it looks a little bit like a leek and it's edible. Now, another cool factor about the cattail leaves is they tend to have some water resistance properties to them. And so they're often used to make shelter roofing. That might be something to keep in mind for survival situations as well. That might be, if you've got access to these and you're building an outdoor shelter, you could weave those into a mat and then make some roofing materials with that. Again, it's going to be a little bit time consuming, but something to keep in mind if you were surviving out in the woods in the wilderness for a prolonged period of time. And some indigenous cultures have also weaved like a sort of a rain poncho with these as well. So it's got some wonderful, amazing properties. It truly is an amazing survival plant. So let's go ahead and cut into the seed head, and then I'll cut into the base of the stalk, and let's just kind of take a little bit of a closer look at this plant. So let's just kind of shave a little bit of this off. And there you can see, that's what the seed head's gonna look like. Very, very fluffy, like dandelion seeds, right? And that's good fire starting material, that's good insulator. You can make some baking flour with that. You can ground it into like a kind of a natural pancake. Really cool, isn't it? And they're fun to play with too. Kids love to play with these. I know when we were kids, we used to like throw them and then hit the ground and kind of explode in that puffy explosion of seed heads. And we would pretend they were like grenades and that was like smoke. So they're fun for kids to play with too. Really cool, isn't it? Such a cool plant to know about. Such a cool plant. And it's okay when you find plants like this. Of course, you know you want, well, I wanted to show you one more thing here. So the inside of the seed head here, there's a very hard piece to be aware of. I would not eat this. I don't think it's recommended by anybody to eat this piece. I just want to show you. I gotta get in there. Wow, look at all those seed heads. All right, I think I got it. There it is, this piece here. Okay, you don't want to eat that. And that's in the middle of the, think of it like the core of an apple, or if you will. You don't want to eat that, okay? All right, let's move these seed heads aside. Thank you, plant. And this is how you learn, folks. This is how you learn. Don't be afraid to smell the plants and touch them. And don't be afraid. It's the best way to learn, actually. Experiential. Take the kids out, show them this stuff. Watch this video together, find some cattails, and then play with it. You're gonna have a blast. All right, let's turn this around. Man, I got seed heads everywhere. We're just helping this plant to propagate. I want to show you the stalk, and then we're gonna call this one a day. So let me flip this around, and let's go ahead. We're gonna cut into here. So I want to show you what the inside, the heart, looks like. Okay. So we peeled back some of those layers there, and then that's what the inside's gonna look like. I'm just gonna go ahead and shave this just a little bit. I wanna show you the inner layer. There we go. That's what we're looking for. That's the good stuff right there. Kind of like asparagus. You can stir fry this. You can actually, if it comes from a clean area, you could eat it just like that, just raw. That's the good stuff right there, folks. So that's what the inside of it looks like. Okay. So let's go down just a little bit more. There we go. Once you get to that inside, it's a little bit softer texture. Good stuff. Now I can just kind of peel it. And there you go, a little trail snack for me. Folks, I hope you found this enjoyable. Don't forget to hit the like button. Drop a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Keep planting your seeds, keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.
Well, I've been told my attitude could use changing, and my lifestyle